I was taking a taxi with my dear son when I ran into my ex-boyfriend who I had broken up with 5 years ago. To be honest, I was scared. I mistook the car. My husband also drives this kind of car. He sneered, "There are only two cars like this in the whole city. One is mine, and the other belongs to a 50-year-old man. Who is the father of the child? My dear son. My mommy said that my real dad is a super big villain and he's dead." I was stunned. "Son, is there a possibility that the dead person in front of you is your real dad? The rain is really heavy tonight." I was standing on the roadside, with my sleeping dear son in my arms, waiting for the Didi I had ordered. Soon, a car stopped in front of me. For some reason, I always felt that this car looked familiar. But black, with the license plate number ending in 88. This must be it. I rushed over in the heavy rain and opened and closed the door in one go. Only, as soon as I got in, I felt something was wrong. There was no other reason. The interior of the car was extremely luxurious. Without several million yuan, this car definitely couldn't be bought. Could it be? A rich person is experiencing life and becoming a driver? I thought as I said, "Okay, driver. Let's go." The car didn't move for a long time. I was curious. "Driver, why aren't we leaving?" At this time, the person in the driver's seat uttered a cold and clear voice. "Long time no see. Yoshimi." This deep and magnetic voice could only belong to my ex-boyfriend who I had broken up with 5 years ago, and the real father of my dear son in my arms. Who else could it be? Why is he here? It must be that I opened the card or in the wrong way. But soon, with my cleverness, I figured out the key to the problem. I got into the wrong car. I'll get off now. I figured it out not because I'm smart, but because, unless the earth is destroyed, with Gunner's wealth, there is no way he would be so poor as to drive for Didi. Just when I was about to escape from this wrong car. Click. The car door was locked. My heart was pounding and I became extremely uneasy. "Where are you going?" "I'll take you." His tone was flat, and he didn't even look at me. But I had an intuition that something was wrong. I hugged my son tightly and felt extremely guilty. I must not let him see my son's face. After all, these two people look exactly the same. There's no need. I just mistook the car. My husband also drives this kind of car. I just want to save face. Especially in front of my ex. Do you usually call your husband driver? Yes, yeah. This is a term of endearment. Is there a problem? But there are only two cars like this in the city. One is mine, and the other belongs to the boss of Changding Real Estate. As far as I know, he is over 50 years old. Has a balding head and a big belly. Your taste now is really a bit heavy. I gritted my teeth. I don't know much about cars. I think they are all similar. I must have remembered it wrong. Yoshimi, didn't I tell you that when you lie and are extremely nervous, you will touch our nose first and then the back of your neck? I immediately withdrew my hand that was touching the back of my neck. Why after 5 years? I'm still being controlled by Gunner. Before I could find a way to sneak away, the Didi driver called. "Hello? Hello? Girl. I'm sorry. The car broke down. Please cancel the order." The loud voice came out of the phone receiver, and the whole car seemed to have a surround sound effect. And I was so embarrassed that I just wanted to dig a hole in the ground with my toes. What's even more embarrassing is that Gunner deliberately chuckled. "Isn't your husband coming?" I took a deep breath. Mingyu on Community. Thank you. Even though we broke up 5 years ago, I still trust his character. I don't know if it was because the car was too quiet or he was too bored. He finally asked the question that I had been vigilant about. "How old is your son?" 3 years old. I deliberately reported my son Yan Mingcheng's age 1 year younger. He doesn't look so young. My child is special. He was born bigger than other children. I looked at my son who was sleeping soundly in my arms and felt extremely guilty. The topic ended there. And the car fell into a terrifying silence again. The car stopped steadily at the entrance of the community. The heart that I had been holding in suspense all the way finally relaxed. I'm here. Thank you. Just as I was about to run away, he handed over a business card. I stared at his hand. White, slender, and powerful. As always. Just when I was daydreaming. If you need help in the future, you can contact me. Have you become so helpful? I said sarcastically. Is Gunnar warm-hearted? Particularly kind? Likes to help others? This is definitely the funniest cold joke I've heard this year. I sneered. There's no need. I got rid of my just now sentimentality. I even wanted to throw his business card in his face. Why? Yoshimi. You dumped me. Haven't you let go? He is using the method of provoking. This is the method I hate the most in my life. Because it is too useful for me. My hand was faster than my brain. I immediately took the business card and held it in my hand. Saying goodbye to Gunnar. Gunnar. I have completely forgotten you. The business card in my palm was crumpled into a ball and thrown into its final destination, the trash can. As for the content on the business card, I didn't even take a look at it. What help from an ex? I don't at all. For the rest of his life, staying far away from me and my child is the greatest help for me. Despite all my precautions, my son still got a fever. And it happened to be the peak season for influenza. The pediatric department of the hospital was overcrowded. I held my sickly son and waited from dawn until noon. But at this moment, the editor's call kept coming. Yes, I am a journalist by profession. As a journalist, missing a hot topic is equivalent to chronic unemployment. If I lose my job, my son and I can only live on the Northwest Wind. There was no way. I could only hold my son and go find my friend who works in the orthopodicus department. Julius. Thank you for taking care of the baby again. I'm sorry. Why are you being so polite to me? I am a doctor. Even if an ordinary patient needs help, I will take care of them, he said carefully and considerately. I was extremely grateful and carefully handed my son, who was still getting an IV drip, to Julius to take care of. A few hours later, after I finished the interview, I hurried back anxiously. Thank goodness. My son's fever had subsided. After a simple farewell to Julius, I was about to leave the hospital with my son, who knew that as soon as I walked out of Julius' office with my child in my arms, I saw a person coming towards me. He looked very familiar. It was Gunnar, who I had just seen yesterday. I wanted to pretend not to know him, but he took the initiative to speak. Your son has a fever? I was startled and quickly lowered my head. Fortunately, my son was held in my arms, only showing a forehead with a fever-reducing patch. I knew that Gunnar was just asking politely, but after thinking about it, I still couldn't help reminding him. Yes, my son has a fever. I emphasized these two words heavily. He hummed. I was afraid that he would say something else, so I quickly changed the topic. Are you injured? I don't know who did a good deed and injured him so that he had to come to the orthopodicus department to see a doctor. I really want to send that person a bouquet of flowers. Before I could laugh, I heard him say, Adam had a minor car accident. Adam. I also know him. He is my old classmate and also Gunnar's brother. He is also a witness to the entire failure of my and Gunnar's love. I'm not interested in Adam because after we broke up, he was sarcastic to me several times. Last night, he somehow found my phone number and called to scold me. I heard from Brother Kai that you have a son? Yoshimi. You really have no gap between relationships. Yoshimi. Stay away from Gunnar in the future. You have already caused him enough harm. I was so angry that I laughed. Obviously it was Gunnar who came to my city and asked me to stay away from him. Moreover, it was clearly me who was hurt back then. How come it seems that he, Gunnar, is the victim? I directly retorted sarcastically. I can only say that Gunnar's affectionate persona is set up well. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Unexpectedly. Today, I ran into these two people. So unlucky. I watched as Adam was limping over and directly turned around and wanted to leave. I'll take you back. Gunnar suddenly spoke. He has finished seeing the doctor. You are on the way. No need. I can't play with your affectionate persona. I turned around and refused without hesitation. I saw Gunnar frown. Before he could speak, a voice came from behind. Xiao Huan. Let's go home. It was Julius. Gunnar's face became ugly. And Julius directly walked towards me, looking at me with gentle eyes. Xiao Huan. I switched shifts with a colleague. I'll take you and Grayson back. No need. You are busy. Work is important. I felt a bit sorry. I had already bothered Julius a lot. With this back and forth, I owed even more favors. Julius smiled shyly. Work is not as important as you and the child. These words, coming from Julius. I smiled awkwardly and didn't know what to say. At this time, Gunnar's voice was cold. Are you Yoshimi's husband? Somehow, while I was panicked, I was also touched. Unexpectedly, in my lifetime, I could hear such polite words from Gunnar. Because in the past, he might only say, "Who are you? A wild dog? Get lost." It seems that 5 years can really change a person who plays around. Hello. I am Julius. Judging from your ages, you should be Xiao Huan's classmates or friends, right? I was surprised. Julius neither denied nor admitted. I wanted to explain, but looking at Gunnar and Adam who had already walked over, I suddenly changed my mind. Why not? Let this misunderstanding continue. I didn't say anything. Gunnar and Adam just stared at Julius quietly. None of the four spoke. The scene was a bit awkward. Husband. And a good father. Gunnar, okay. Be careful. Obviously it was a perfectly normal sentence. But I always felt a chill down my back. He was too polite. I comforted myself that maybe as I get older, I always think too much. As a result, that night I had a nightmare and woke up in a cold sweat. In the dream, Gunnar grabbed my neck and questioned me why I treated him like this. Thinking about Gunnar's polite and measured behavior now, I felt a bit ridiculous. Things have already passed. Everyone has their own lives. Only I am still stupidly brooding over what happened back then. My son needs to get an IV drip for 3 consecutive days due to this fever. As a result, during these 3 days, I could see Gunnar and Adam in the hospital every day. I thought that with a fracture, there is no need to come to the hospital for a review every day. A broken bone takes 100 days to heal. Wouldn't it be better to lie at home and recuperate? The first encounter was an accident. The second day could be said to be a coincidence. As for the third day, it's a bit inexplicable. I asked pityingly, Adam, is your leg crippled? Adam muttered in a low voice, I'm such a pear guy. What did you say? Nothing. It's just a sprain. Brother Kai is worried about me and takes me for a review every day. The corner of my mouth twitched. What's wrong with these two people? So full of romance? At this time, Julius also suddenly appeared, passing by several nurses with coffee in his hand. And nurses all turned their heads to look at him, and then covered their mouths and chuckled. They whispered and sighed. Dr. Chang is indeed the famous golden bachelor in our hospital. This body proportion and this face are really amazing. I was startled. The nurses said Julius is a bachelor. Then all these days of hiding were in vain? But unexpectedly, Gunnar actually just pretended not to hear. He just gave Adam a simple look. Then I watched as Adam cooperatively groaned. Ouch. Doctor. I feel that my leg hurts so much. I couldn't help but twitch the corner of my mouth. This acting skills can definitely win the Golden Broom Award the most disappointing actor. Became an actor in the morning, and lost his career in the afternoon. Obviously Julius also thought Adam's performance was ridiculously fake and wanted to say something but stopped. But as a doctor, He couldn't just ignore it. After Adam dragged Julius away, the atmosphere suddenly cooled down. Your son is good-looking, but he doesn't look much like you. If you can't speak well, you can shut up. Isn't this nonsense? The son looks like him. But unexpectedly, this person is only half blind. He found that he didn't look like me, but he didn't find that he looked like himself either. Although this is the truth, I don't like to hear these words. Before I got angry, Gunnar slowly said, I have the right to freedom of speech. Then Gunnar squatted down and greeted his son. Hello, little friend. I am your mother's friend. I am Grayson. Hello, uncle. This is the first time Gunnar has met Grayson, who is in good spirits. The two of them together are surprisingly similar in eyebrows and eyes. The more I look at them, the more panicked I become. Moreover, I don't know if it's because of blood relationship. The two of them actually hit it off at first sight and chatted very well. I'm numb. Just when I wanted to interrupt them tactfully and tell them not to talk anymore, my phone started ringing non-stop again. It's still that editor and still that job. So annoying. But between getting deducted wages and answering the phone, I still know which is more important. Grayson, Mom needs to answer a phone call. Shall I take you to the orthopodicus office and stay there for a while? Before Grayson could reply, Gunnar took over. I'll watch him for you. Let these two be alone in a space. No, absolutely not. No, I immediately refused. The phone is about to hang up. Gunnar kindly reminded. The words chief editor were flashing on the screen. I hesitated for a second. Just 2 minutes. Thank you. 2 minutes. There should be no major incident. When I finished answering the phone and hurried back to the infusion area, I heard a conversation that shocked me. Dr. Cheng is my mommy's friend, not my daddy. Uncle, you are mistaken. My good son really lives up to his name. With his sweet voice, he directly sold me out. Gunnar paused and asked, then who is your daddy? I wanted to rush over and stop them, but my son's mouth was too fast. He said, Mommy said that daddy is a super big villain. I haven't seen him. For some reason, I wanted to laugh. Son, have you ever thought that the person in front of you is your real daddy? I suppressed my laughter and quickly interrupted them before Gunnar could ask the next question. Then I saw the way Gunnar looked at me. Probably from confusion to eagerness and then to suspicion that I had met an irresponsible jerk. I was too lazy to care about him. Only when I got home that night, I severely criticized and educated my son. The next day, when Gunnar asked again, my son said with a conflicted expression, Mommy told me not to talk too much with Uncle Kai. I could feel Gunnar's frustration. There's no way. My dear son is good in every way except that he is a bit honest. Yoshimi, you think a lot. What does he mean by this? Clearly saying that I'm narcissistic? I was stubborn. You are mistaken. I just want my son to enhance his safety awareness. Gunnar looked at me meaningfully and added, I hope so. I coughed guiltily twice. Of course it is. So who is that irresponsible jerk who hurt you? No comment. Gunnar frowned and his face was cold. Are you still having feelings for him? So what if I tell you? Are you going to help me take revenge on him? Taking revenge on himself? This operation is quite fresh. But Gunnar, as the president of a listed group holding company, is rich and powerful, and does indeed have this ability. How do you know I won't? I immediately replied, I'm not worthy of President Kai doing this. I was afraid that he would say more. And I was even more afraid that if this continued, I would be exposed. I picked up my child and left in a hurry and swore that I would never come to this hospital again. But unexpectedly, even though I hid like this, I could still run into Gunnar again. On this day, my bald chief editor took me out for a social event. I understand the rules at the wine table. Whether familiar or not. Just drink. But this time I met a tough one. The person had an excellent capacity for alcohol. An hour later, I finally admitted defeat. No way. General Manager Gao. I really can't drink anymore. Xiao Yan. How can this do? The wine hasn't gone through 3 rounds and the dishes haven't had 5 flavors yet. I had clearly refused. But a full glass of red wine was still forced into my hand. I have encountered such a scene countless times. The only way to deal with it is to drink it. But this time, someone stopped it. She said she won't drink anymore. Can't you hear? Gunnar didn't know where he appeared. He took the wine glass from my hand and slapped it heavily on the table. With a gloomy face. It was chilling. Although my head was dizzy, I could still recognize who the person in front of me was. I stared straight at Gunnar. That face is really good looking. Aside from the fact that he cheated on me, Gunnar really fulfilled all my fantasies as a face con and hand con. The editor reacted and quickly got up to smooth things over and explain. President Kai. You are here. Please sit down. Please sit down. You are mistaken. No one is forcing Xiao Yan to drink. This is just to liven up the atmosphere. Gunnar didn't give face and said again, livening up the atmosphere means embarrassing a woman? Seeing the editor's obsequious flattery, I realized that the business tycoon who the editor said might come tonight is actually Gunnar. The editor also asked me to perform well tonight, so that I could have the opportunity to interview him tomorrow. For some reason, I suddenly relaxed. If it's him, then there's no need for me to wrong myself and socialize here. Gunnar is a jerk. But I know him well. He won't be so despicable as to trip me up at work. I felt uncomfortable and left first. I said with first energy, perhaps seeing the unusual relationship between me and Gunnar. No one dared to stop me. I got up unsteadily, looking a bit embarrassed as I couldn't stand firmly due to my weak legs. With a long arm, Gunnar directly pulled me into his arms. The posture was ambiguous. Because of Gunnar's sudden closeness, I was at a loss. Although my heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out of my chest, I still pretended to be calm. President Kai, please be self-respecting. Don't take advantage of me like this. I haven't encountered workplace sexual harassment, but I can't accept it. Even if it's Gunnar, it's not okay. You are drunk. I'll take you back. Gunnar's tone was incredibly gentle, but I didn't appreciate it. I pushed him away stubbornly and staggered and opened the door to go out. Gunnar followed closely behind. In the corridor, the woman walking towards us was tall. A small suit, thin high heels, and delicate makeup. As beautiful as 5 years ago. But the moment she saw me, her expression changed. But it quickly returned to normal. She smiled gracefully. President Kai, why don't you go in? I took in all the changes in her expression and didn't expose it. It turns out that she also knows of my existence. Then that phone call 5 years ago. Could it be considered a provocation? When Gunnar saw me staring at her motionless lie, he took the initiative to introduce. This is the director of my company. Tang. There's no need to introduce. Hello. Miss Cressida. 5 years. More than 1800 days. To this day, I can still accurately call out her name. Cressida. How do you know her? Yes, Miss Yen knows me? This acting skills can win the most disappointing actor award together with Adam. By chance, I was fortunate to see Miss Eng's photo and hear Miss Eng's voice 5 years ago. Gunnar stood in front of me, walking my direct gaze at Cressida. He pressed me. What kind of chance? I suppressed my smile. Just ask your wife. Why ask me? After 5 years, they should have got unmarried. After all, their relationship was so good back then. The two should be locked together and not separated. Unexpectedly, Gunnar frowned. Don't talk nonsense. I'm single. I was extremely surprised. You and Miss Tang broke up? It's remarkable that they can still be friends after breaking up. Gunnar was confused. When were me and her together? Things are getting interesting. Gunnar reacted quickly and directly asked in front of me, Cressida. What's going on? Cressida was stunned. Her face turned pale and she couldn't say a word. I knew that she definitely liked Gunnar. Otherwise, she wouldn't have this expression. However, since Gunnar is single, I suddenly had the idea of playing a prank. If President Kai wants to know, you can come to my room at night. In front of Cressida, I put the room card into Gunnar's suit pocket. Before leaving, I took another meaningful look at Gunnar and Cressida. Such blatant and obvious provoking behavior. I admit it's a bit childish and meaningless. Like a vicious female supporting role in a melodramatic drama. A bad woman who deliberately sows discord. But seeing Cruzida's resentful expression, I really felt satisfied. But when the door was really opened, I regretted it. You really came when I asked you to? Gunnar squeezed in and closed the door. There were only me and him in the room. I suddenly had a feeling of inviting a wolf into the house. Tell me, what's going on? I refused to answer and unemotionally gave him an order to leave. Summoned at will and dismissed at will. Yoshimi. What do you think I am? Gunnar had a straight face and his anger was growing. I became restless because of such a reaction. I nervously swallowed. Probably only I dared to play with President Kai in such a way. I'm masking you. It was also at this moment that I realized that Gunnar's attitude towards me in front of people, and behind people seemed to be different. I was unjust but still confident. Why are you so fierce? Is this what you call being fierce? When you gave me the cold shoulder, weren't you even fiercer? Gunnar actually started to settle scores with me, a grieved lie. What are you talking nonsense? A week before the official breakup. Can't you say you didn't? I admit that at that time I was the one who ignored people unilaterally. But there was a reason for that. Is it interesting to talk about these old things? I want to know the truth. The real reason for our breakup. Can the real reason be said? It seems not very possible. If I say it, Gunnar will easily know that Grayson is his son. I am not ready to let them recognize each other as father and son. And the matter between Gunnar and Cressida has not been completely understood yet. Seeing that I remain silent, he could only finally grit his teeth and say, "Are you going to interview me tomorrow?" I'll accept it. Although I had a bad premonition. For the sake of work, I had to do it. The next day, as a journalist, I conducted an exclusive interview with Mr. Gunnar, the president of Rongcheng Dingsheng Group, known as a business genius. This is the first time that Gunnar, a business tycoon, has made an exception to accept an exclusive interview with a journalist. This opportunity is rare. And of course I have to show a professional attitude. The interview questions are serious and formal. I will never ask gossip questions like whether you have a girlfriend or your ideal type. But Gunnar himself seemed unprofessional. Can President Kai briefly reveal Rongcheng Dingsheng's future development plan? No, I was speechless for a moment. But as for my personal plan, I can talk about it. The style suddenly changed. I was a bit doubtful if I had heard wrong. Is Gunnar such a person who likes to talk about personal life publicly? I wanted to stop him. But he quickly spoke. I am going to win back my first love and then get married in the next 2 years. It was like a thunderbolt. Ask Gunnar's first love. I was speechless because I didn't know how to answer. He didn't seem to expect me to reply either. I haven't been in a relationship for 5 years. I may not be very skilled in chasing people. I hope my first love can tolerate me. Not looking at the camera ends, but looking at the journalist is absurd. I heard that Rongcheng Dingsheng will be recruiting a large number of people recently. Will President Kai personally participate in the personnel selection? Adhering to the professional qualities of a journalist, I tried my best to bring the topic back. No then. He looked at me and said meaningfully, "My first love has a beautiful smile. Her eyes are curved like a crescent moon. Just like reporter Yan." He continued to lead the topic astray. And my first love is not only similar to Miss Yan in smiling. It can only be said that they are exactly the same. Humor is the manifestation of my excellent on-the-spot adaptability. As a result, today I directly fell into a big pit and couldn't answer. Since that day, I have deliberately avoided Gunnar. I didn't answer the phone or reply to WeChat. But you can run away from the monk, but not the temple. Gunnar blocking me at the company is definitely accurate every time. Blocking me is already bad enough. He also drives his eye-catching luxury car worth tens of millions. It is said that he politely asks everyone he meets, "Hello. Is Yoshimi here?" for fear that others won't know that Gunnar, is here. It's very ostentatious. With his showy operation, the news that I am suspected to be Gunnar's first love spread quickly within the company. "Gunnar. Are you done? Can't you see? I am chasing you." He is really a person who does what he says. I was so angry that I couldn't help it. If it's excessive, it's harassment. Why are you hot and cold towards me? Just a few days ago we were still. I know what Gunnar means. That night, in the hotel, I was a bit unsteady because I drank too much and accidentally kissed him. Although I immediately pushed him away and drove him out. But obviously, Gunnar misunderstood. We are all adults. Do you want me to be responsible just because I kissed you? Gunnar suddenly reached out and grabbed my arm, forcefully pulled me to his side. Then he pulled me to the passenger seat and stuffed me in without any explanation. There is a big difference in strength between men and women. I had no power to resist. Along the way, Gunnar deliberately drove very fast. I was so scared that my heart was about to jump out. I kept asking where Gunnar was going. But he didn't answer me. Speeding and running red lights will result in a deduction of 12 points and revocation of the driver's license. Don't worry. I am a law-abiding citizen. It's okay if he doesn't say it. But when he said it, I was even more scared. When we drove away from the urban area, the speed increased rapidly. Even when turning, he didn't slow down. I was useless. I tightly grasped the front handrail on the roof and cried out of fear. Wouldn't he take me to die with him in a fit of anger? Be responsible? I answered with a crying voice. Be responsible. What about being mature? Stable? Polite and restrained? All go to hell. For several days in a row, Gunnar didn't appear by my side again. If something is abnormal, there must be a demon. Gunnar is quiet. He must be doing something. But before waiting for Gunnar's antics, I received a call from Madame first. In the bar, I asked Adam unhappily, "Why are you in such a hurry to call me over?" Adam motioned me to look over there with his eyes. It turned out that a certain drunk person was drunk and passed out on the table. I put my hands on my hips and glared. "Adam, do you think I am very free?" Although a few days ago I was forced and said that I would be responsible for him. But it was just talk. We broke up 5 years ago. When he is drunk, there is no need for me to take care of him. Ouch. Help me. Sister Juan. If you don't come, Brother Kai won't leave. He makes a fuss and refuses to leave. Can't you just carry him away? Simple and rough. And very effective. Oh, it's just that I didn't think of this method. I don't know what the problem is. Is it that Adam is too stupid or I am too smart? Look. Since you are already here, waking up Brother Kai is not too much. Right? I don't know what Gunnar said to Adam. Adam, who originally hated me very much, is actually matchmaking me and Gunnar? I always feel that something is out of control. I am very annoyed and want to leave. But Adam is always blocking me. There was no way. I had to walk over and wake him up in my way. I don't know which one worked. Kicking him or pulling his ear. Soon, he raised his head in a daze. He looked at me unfocused for a long time. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Yoshimi. Yoshimi, you are here. Yoshimi. I miss you. The last time I heard him call me Yoshimi was 5 years ago. Mature and stable before getting drunk. After getting drunk, he is stupid and cute and a bit childish. When we meet again, I thought he had become mature. But in fact, he is still that Gunnar. I was inexplicably softened. Since you are awake, go with Adam. Do you know how difficult it is to make you get into my wrong car? I spent a whole month Stopping in front of you every time you take a taxi. You only got in once. You. I was stunned. So getting into the wrong car last time was something he had planned for a long time? In just a few years. Gunnar, who is extremely flamboyant, has become so timid? You. Yoshimi. I want to be Grayson's dad. He interrupted me. His attitude was tough and his tone was confident. I was amused by his anger. There is no one like you who is so eager to be a stepfather. A stepfather is also a father. I know that Gunnar has ulterior motives. But the key is, I don't want to give him the wine either. Talk to me when you are sober. How can you reason with a drunk person? In front of me. He is making a scene while drunk. I won't spoil him. Yoshimi, who is always strong, shouts even louder than Gunnar. Can't I beg you? He said the most cowardly words with the fiercest expression. Cressida, who couldn't sit still because of my provocation a few days ago, somehow got my contact information. She called and said that she wanted to see me and discuss something with me. I readily agreed. Just as I also want to understand why it was her who answered the call to Gunnar 5 years ago. She got straight to the point. I can introduce you to a high-paying and easy job in the imperial capital, and let your son enter the best kindergarten. The prerequisite is that you promise never to entangle with Gunnar again. Here comes another one who wants me to stay away from Gunnar. Why, after 5 years, Gunnar still can't let me go. Are you in a hurry and come to me again? I don't want to be sarcastic to her either, but I really don't like her overbearing look. In these 5 years, it is me who has accompanied him through ups and downs all the way. But my hardships in these 5 years are also related to you. I was alone when I was pregnant, alone when giving birth, and alone when my child was sick. Did I have a good life? What should I say about the grievances and pains I have suffered over the years? If you really love Gunnar, you won't get married and have children with others. Now that you are divorced, you think of Gunnar's goodness and let him take care of you and your child. Take over? Does Cressida think I am taking Gunnar as a sucker? To anger her, I deliberately said, but Gunnar is willing to take over. Cruzida's face suddenly turned red with anger. You are shameless. I am shameless. But it's not as shameless as you deliberately telling me that you are Gunnar's fiancé. I counterattacked desperately. Unexpectedly. Cruzida's face turned pale in an instant. Kai. Gunnar. I looked back and found that Gunnar didn't know when he had come. He stared at me tightly and gritted his teeth. You thought Cressida was my girlfriend. So you broke up with me? Yes, Yoshimi. Are you stupid? Am I such a person in your eyes? He was so angry that he turned around and left. I looked at Gunnar's leaving back and felt wronged like a child who had done something wrong. That day, I was like a walking corpse. Lost my soul. I didn't know how I got home or how I opened the door for Adam. Adam explained to me that Cressida was repeatedly harassed by a wretched man that year. To protect herself, she claimed that she had a boyfriend. Who was Gunnar? And when Gunnar found out, it was several days later. Although he directly clarified this matter, he didn't tell me because he didn't want me to misunderstand. A misunderstanding that can be explained in a few words made me wait for 5 years. Now, the truth is revealed. My nose was sore and I felt like crying. But not a single tear flowed. I thought I might not care and not love anymore. So I was like this. But when I saw Gunnar wearing the black suit I love and holding flowers in his hands and appearing at my door, in that instant, I suddenly wanted to throw myself into his arms and cry loudly. 5 years ago, my relationship with Gunnar was not smooth. A few months after graduating from college, Gunnar and I were in a long-distance relationship. Long-distance relationship, quarrels, and cold wars. None was missing. In the 2nd month of being in a long-distance relationship, I suddenly found out that I was pregnant. For the first time in my life. Of course, I was extremely scared and nervous. At this time, Gunnar's phone couldn't be reached. To save money, I took a 12-hour hard seat and went to the city where Gunnar was. After walking a long way, I finally arrived at Gunner's company. I eagerly asked the front desk, "Is Gunner here? President Kai?" "President Kai is on a business trip." "Who did he go with? Adam?" I thought that if I couldn't contact Gunner, maybe I could contact Adam. "No, it's our company's director. President Kai's girlfriend." "Who?" "Gunner's girlfriend." The front desk showed me the photos of the company's team building party. She also enthusiastically pointed to the woman sitting between Gunner and Adam. She introduced to me, "Look. This is President Kai's girlfriend, Cruzita." I walked out of the company in a daze and called Gunner over and over again. "I want to ask clearly. I can't be cheated on like this without knowing anything." The phone was finally answered. It was a female voice who answered me. She said, "Hello. I am Cruzita. Gunner is busy." I took a deep breath and asked, "Are you Gunner's girlfriend?" She answered me without hesitation, "Yes. If you have something to tell me." I hung up the phone directly and then burst into tears on the street late at night. I was cheated on by a person I have loved for a long time. I couldn't accept the fact that I was cheated on. I insisted on waiting for Gunner to come back from his business trip. I want his explanation and his apology. I want this bastard to pay the due price. Gunner came back on the next afternoon. "Why didn't you tell me in advance when you came? Tell in advance so that you can be mentally prepared. Right?" I asked in return, "Then why didn't you answer my call yesterday? Did you call me?" I turned off my phone on the plane. "Who did you go with?" "Colleagues." "Are you cold?" "Wife. Let me take you to eat." I was in a hurry to come here and wore thin clothes. Now my hands are red from the cold. Gunner held my hand and put it inside his clothes to warm me. The phone rang suddenly and Gunner let go of my hand. "Hello. I'm busy. If there's something, we can talk about it tomorrow." The person on the other end of the phone didn't know what to say. Gunner changed his mind again. "Okay. I know. I'll go there later." "Who?" Gunner answered me briefly. "The company director has something to find me." After answering the phone, Gunner wanted to hold my hand again. But I coldly pulled my hand back and took a few steps back. The movement was a bit big. Gunner stood there stunned for a few seconds, and then approached me again. "What's wrong?" "I don't want you to touch me." Gunner naturally thought of the quarrel and Cold War last week and thought I was still angry. "No, don't be so childish. Okay?" His helpless words made me feel that he was impatient. "It's already like this before marriage. I'm afraid it will be even worse after marriage." "Gunner. Let's break up." I originally thought that this sentence would be very difficult to say. After really saying it, I realized that it was so easy. "Yoshimi. No matter how you throw tantrums usually, I can coax you. Only when it comes to breaking up, I won't indulge you." We didn't break up that day because Gunner firmly disagreed and pulled me back. In the next week, I ignored him at all, just in time for my birthday to come, in order to make me happy. He specially brought his brothers and friends to my city to celebrate my birthday. Amid the noise, the birthday cake was pushed up by the waiter. Gunner reminded me to make a wish and blow out the candles. Adam was making a fuss on the side. "Sister-in-law. If you don't make a wish to get married this year?" Others also burst into laughter. It seemed that everyone thought that I had no choice but Gunner. I glanced at Adam infuriately and said with a smile, "My birthday wish this year is to hope that Gunner agrees to break up with me." The originally lively Kate Evie private room suddenly fell into a deathly silence. "Be good. Don't be so childish. Blow out the candles." There was no throwing things or hysterics. But everyone also knew that the calmer it was, the more really angry it was. "Don't you really know if I'm being childish? Now, there is no need to deceive ourselves anymore." I heard Gunner's voice trembling. "You don't love me anymore? In this love game with you. Just play around. Don't take it seriously?" I raised my head and looked at him. I said word by word, "After being in a relationship, I found out that you, Gunner, are just so." That day ended unhappily. I made Gunner lose face in front of everyone. From then on, Our common friends avoided talking about Gunnar in front of me. This time, Gunnar and I broke up completely. I agreed to get back together with Gunnar. Maybe he was afraid that I would run away. The next day, he proposed to me. The proposal lines were also very interesting. Yoshimi, I will spoil you more than spoiling my future daughter in my life. I will also spoil Grayson as my own son. I will be the best stepfather. I was silent at that time and then said, is there a possibility that Grayson is your child? Cressida came to apologize to me. She also told me a few things about how Gunnar couldn't let go of me these years and stabilized his emotions only by squeezing work. This time I was really determined. I am going to leave this city. I am going to find someone who treats me like he treats you. I didn't choose to forgive her. But I still wished her to find someone suitable for her. Julius also came to find me, looking at me holding Gunnar's hand. He smiled knowingly. 3 months later, our honeymoon trip with our child ended. During the trip, Grayson was overly excited and full of energy. As a result, Gunnar and I were exhausted, looking one more tired than the other. Didn't you cry and shout to be Grayson's dad before? Now it has come true. Why do you seem a bit unhappy? This naughty boy is like me. Too noisy. In these 5 years, you have worked hard. During the conversation, Grayson, who couldn't be quiet for a few seconds, accidentally broke the cup again. At 3 or 4 years old, children are indeed at an age that even dogs dislike. Gunnar and I were already used to it and continued to chat as if nothing had happened. You take care of Grayson from now on. I'm tired. Can I return it? I want to give a bad review. This naughty child is really impossible to take care of for a day. Perhaps it's better to transfer or sell. Forget it. For this poor little guy. Let's start over. Adam came to pick us up. Seeing our listless looks, he teased, are you physically exhausted and feel that you will never love again? Gunnar patted Adam on the shoulder. There is a project to sell electric blankets in Africa. I am going to let you go and talk about cooperation. The look in his eyes was undoubtedly full of high hopes. He added, don't come back if the sales volume is less than 10 million. Brother Kai. I am a person who likes to be at home. So I still prefer that project of selling electric fans in the North Pole. It's close to home. You can do whatever you want. I will support you. It doesn't matter whether it makes money or not. Gunnar mainly wants Adam to disappear from his sight. Men and women working together are not tired. Then sister-in-law. You go with me. Bold thief. I didn't even have time to retract my bared big teeth. Fortunately, Gunnar's kick to Adam was very timely. The law of conservation of smiles is indeed true.